Okay, so thank you for coming, everybody. This is the last session for the fall in the PhD Unlimited series, which is offered by the UC Davis Humanities Institute. And in this session, I'm going to be talking about publicly engaged research for graduate students in the arts and humanities here at UC Davis. I'll be talking about that briefly, and more specifically, I'll be going into detail about a program that we offer here at the Davis Humanities Institute called the Mellon Public Scholars Program. And I am Stephanie Maroney. I am the program manager for that program. So I'll be able to go into detail about the program itself, about submitting your proposal, and issues that might come up as you prepare your proposal for submission. So thank you all for being here. Welcome. And again, feel free to use the chat for questions. So I'm going to do a general welcome, like I said, talk specifically about publicly engaged research opportunities, go into specifics around the Mellon Public Scholars question, and leave more time for Q&A at the end. So these can be questions about the program broadly, about public scholarship broadly, or specific questions about a project that you might have in mind. Hello, I wanted to introduce myself. So I'm Stephanie Maroney. I am the program manager for the Mellon Public Scholars Program here at UC Davis. I also wanted to say that I am an alumni of UC Davis. I got my PhD in 2018 in the Cultural Studies program, and that I was also a member of the Mellon Public Scholars inaugural cohort in 2016. So all that to say that I'm in a unique place to help offer advice to you as a potential applicant on this program, because I have the experience of being a grad student at UC Davis. I have the experience of being a student in the Public Scholars Program, and as now the administrator of this program through the Davis Humanities Institute. So there's two websites there that might be useful to you if you don't already know about them. The first is DHI at UCDavis.edu, which is the Humanities Institute's website, as well as the Public Scholars website below it. And I encourage you to check both of those out. And my email address is srmaroney@ucdavis.edu, and it's also on the last slide, so you'll have a chance to write it down if you need to. So first I want to talk broadly about publicly engaged research at UC Davis. So maybe you are very familiar with doing this kind of work, or maybe it's new to you, but I just wanted to note out front that there are really different genealogies, different definitions, and different discipline-specific histories of this kind of work. So there isn't really one definition where you could say, or one kind of project that you would say, this is doing publicly engaged research. So I want to just kind of start with this sense that depending on your training, on your mentors, depending on the communities from which you come and then are now in the university, you might have a different relationship to this concept, this phrase, or this practice of doing work. And that depending on your political commitments or your relationship to different disciplines like critical ethnic studies or women and gender studies, you know, there are movements that come along with those academic spaces that you feel that you're in relationship with. And so when you think about doing community research, it might look different than someone who doesn't have those same kind of commitments. So just want to put that out there. But I will say that UC Davis, which is there's a quote on the side of the screen here, has a public scholarship and engagement office, and they have tried to give us a working definition of what public scholarship might be, very broadly here at UC Davis. And so I'll just read from that briefly that this definition would make explicit who we serve as a public land-grant institution, but also that we see the work being broad and inclusive of different forms of scholarship that vary by discipline and types of scholarly activity, but that public scholarship would exemplify excellence in research, teaching, and creative practice, and it focuses on issues of public concern. It is useful to and developed with diverse audiences beyond the university. So hopefully you can read in that some core components of what might capture a big tent definition of publicly engaged research. For you though, as grad students in the arts and humanities, the first resource that I would want to point you to if you were either an experienced person in this field or somebody who wanted to start doing this kind of work is to start with your departments or your peers. There might be a course offered in your department that touches on either the methodologies or the theoretical orientations to publicly engaged research that could be very useful to you. You might also seek out faculty mentorship. So you may have an advisor who already does this work and you're able to kind of get information you need through that relationship. But you might just think about reaching out to other faculty on campus that even aren't in your department, and they can kind of serve as a mentor or someone that you can bounce ideas off of, and maybe they aren't your main advisor. So if you don't even know where to start reaching out to faculty around this, I encourage you to reach out to me, because one of the benefits of the Mellon Public Scholars Program, which has run for 5 years now, is that we've been able to interact with a lot of faculty on campus. And so chances are there is someone in your department or someone in a kind of adjacent field that you would really benefit from talking to if you're someone who wants to start doing this work or needs some support in carrying out pretty complicated projects. So first of all, go towards coursework and faculty mentorship if you are wanting to learn more about how to do this work. Next, I would point you to some campus-wide resources that we have. So I had mentioned already the Office of Public Scholarship and Engagement. This is a relatively new office, I think about 1.5 years now, maybe 2 years it's been in existence. And it's meant to serve as like a hub for all kinds of public scholarship work on campus. So this would be a site where there could be a faculty grant, for somebody in biological sciences, but there might also be a teaching opportunity for someone in the humanities. So it really is broad and varied, and they are starting to develop more and more work that gets done in that office. So that's one that I would keep your eye on. I don't believe that they offer a lot of financial support to grad students right now, but there would certainly be events or workshops or just general resource knowledge that would be useful through that office. The first one listed is Imagining America, which is a national consortium of humanities, arts, and design academics, but also cultural practitioners, activists, artists, performers. And UC Davis right now is the institutional home for Imagining America. So it's a national network, but it's based here at Davis. And so I would also encourage you to reach out or explore the website and the different offerings from Imagining America. They do have a program called PAGE, which is Publicly Active Graduate Education, that supports graduate students to become a key part of the Imagining America conference, as well as programming leading up to the gathering that they offer every year. So there is explicit support for grad students there. And there's also just a lot of opportunity to interface with a national and international network around your work. So I would encourage you again to check out Imagining America, especially for arts and humanities and design students. The next 3 examples are much more interdisciplinary or even science STEM focused, but they might be of interest for humanities and arts students as well. The first is the Center for Community and Citizen Science, which is within the School of Education. So this is a unit that works with scientists who want to do community research projects, or if a community is asking for research to be done, scientific research to be done in their community, this is the place they would go. So if you're someone who maybe works across the sciences or has an interest in those kinds of topics, even if you have a humanities approach, like around something like climate change, this might be a good place for you to also look for opportunities for collaborators or for communities that are in need of assistance around scientific or technical problems. Next listed there is the Feminist Research Institute. So they are a group on campus that doesn't explicitly do publicly engaged research, but I found that a lot of the community that they're creating through their programming brings together folks from across the campus that are interested in feminist research, and there really is a lot of interest and concern in doing ethically rigorous and good work in the community. So that might be an intellectual community for many of you. If you are seeking out others who might share an affinity or an affiliation with a particular kind of work around publicly engaged research and explicitly feminist work, I would encourage you to get in touch with them and see what kinds of things they're offering. Lastly, for social scientists or for folks involved in public policy, I would also point you to the Center for Regional Change, which works a lot with undergraduates and faculty, but there are opportunities for grad students as well. They also have a program called the Ted Bradshaw Fellows Program, which funds community engaged researchers at undergraduate and graduate level. So that's an explicit opportunity for funding for your work. And they do a lot of work around youth, also around climate change and development and water and really complex issues and communities that might benefit from a policy-focused social science approach. And then lastly, I wanted to give you some actual grants that you might be interested in. So the first is the Davis Putter Scholarship Fund, and it's not Davis because of UC Davis, it's Davis named after the funders. So this is a fund specifically for student activists. So it's really wonderful. You don't find a lot of opportunities out there to be awarded and recognized for your student activism. So that might be a scholarship fund some of you would be interested in exploring. There's also, once you finish your PhD, there is the Mellon ACLS Public Fellows Program. And it's a very competitive program, but it's quite unique in that it offers you the opportunity as someone who's finished your PhD to usually they offer between 10 to 12 different positions that you can apply to work for. And these are usually with nonprofits or government agencies. And the Mellon ACLS partnership pays for 2 years of your salary at these organizations. So they're really useful for someone who is thinking about careers beyond the university, that wants to work in high impact public settings. And these are all really focused on people within the arts and humanities. So they want folks who have that kind of training and that kind of background to apply for these positions. The next two are grant opportunities that might be interesting to you depending on your research. The first is the Humanities for All grant program from California Humanities. And they can be small-ish grants of about $5,000 or larger ones of $15,000, I believe. And this is where you would need to be working with a community collaborator. These are not available to you as grants as a grad student. So if you were just applying as an individual graduate student, you would not be eligible for these. But if this is more for someone who might already be working with a community collaborator and wants to find additional grant funding opportunity for your activities, I would point you to this Humanities for All program. And then finally, very locally, is the City of Davis Arts and Cultural Affairs program has a small community arts grant fund. And they have, I know they have funded some graduate student work where they are in collaboration with community members. Again, these wouldn't be appropriate to fund your dissertation research, but rather if you have an ongoing community engaged research project, these are sources of potential funding to help keep those projects going. Okay, so this is kind of the point where I'm going to shift now to start talking about the Mellon Public Scholars Program. So if there's any questions about these bigger opportunities, feel free to post those into the chat and I will revisit them as we move on. So maybe the reason you're here today is because you want to know more about the Mellon Public Scholars Program. So this is a grant program that is administered by the UC Davis Humanities Institute and funded by the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. We received the initial award in 2015 and had a 2016 cohort. And we were, very luckily, we were renewed in 2018. So the program is actually, this is in its final year. The 2021 cohort will be the final cohort for the Mellon Public Scholars Program as it exists. We are actively exploring, other grant opportunities, but that's just to say that if you're a grad student who's had your eye on this program, this is really the year to apply. This is the one. The program itself is a public humanities program that combines the research-oriented goals of nurturing public scholarship with professional development for graduate students. So it's about thinking of audiences for your research as grad students. It's also about doing work with and for diverse communities. And it's about getting exposure and experience with different kinds of career futures that you might pursue post-graduation. So all of those things are blended together into the Mellon Public Scholars Program. We have over 40 alumni here that are either continuing students or have graduated and moved into positions both within academia and beyond it. The program itself has a few components. The selection process is what's happening right now. So the 2021 cohort, we are actively put out a call for proposals, which are due on January 15th. So 1 month from today, the proposals are due. If you're selected into the program, you are required to take a spring seminar. You select a faculty mentor to work with and a community partner, which should be described in your proposal narrative already. And then together with your faculty mentor's guidance and with your community partner as a collaborator, you carry out a summer research project. That happens over the summer months, and then we ask that in the fall you share out about your experience and about the work that you did in a showcase that we offer. And so the program is kind of a year-long commitment from when you put in your proposal, when you take the seminar, carry out the summer work, and return in the fall to share with a broader audience about the work that you did. For your participation in the program and as a fellow, you receive $7,500, which is paid to you in the summer months for your work. And those funds go directly to you as a scholar to support you. They are yours to do with as you please. The money is intended to support the work that you do and make it possible for you to not, also have to have another job while you're carrying out this work, as is the case for a lot of us. You're also eligible to be reimbursed for up to $400 from a supplemental project fund. So if you, for example, needed to travel as a part of your project, we could help reimburse those travel costs. Or if you needed to purchase materials that were key to carrying out the project or that your community partner needed in order to meet the needs of the partnership, we could reimburse any of those costs up to $400. For eligibility and applying, what you actually have to submit, we welcome applications from doctoral and MFA students in the arts, humanities, and humanistic social sciences at any stage in their graduate training. So the program really is open to you, whether this is your first year or whether it's your last year. You do need to remain a student, so keep your student status through at least the end of the summer in order to be eligible. So if you're planning to graduate in May, you would not be eligible for this grant program. But we do welcome people from, like I said, any stage in your program, which also means any level of experience. Another thing that we're looking for in terms of eligibility, and I stress this because it should be pointed out that our funder is the Mellon Foundation, and so we're really looking for projects that are able to articulate its relevance to the humanities and the arts. And we often on campus have really wonderful social science projects. And so that's kind of why we append humanistic social sciences, because we want you to think about how you might be using the types of questions or methods from the arts and humanities to answer questions or explore research with a community partner. And we want those kinds of queries to be at the center of the work that comes out of the Mellon Public Scholars Program, the arts and humanities. We also encourage anyone with an interest in public scholarship and community engaged research to apply, whether or not that is explicit in your dissertation. So again, whether this is something you've been doing for 10 years or something you really are just thinking about starting, both of those candidates would be, we would welcome proposals from you. The program is not meant to only fund people who have already done this work. We'd like to, or there's an intention that the faculty selection committee has when they're selecting the final cohort to really build an interdisciplinary and kind of intergenerational cohort so that we can learn from one another in the space of the seminar and as we carry out the projects. Again, with relationship to the dissertation, this project that you proposed for the summer for the Mellon Public Scholars Program does not need to be your dissertation research. And it actually should not be specifically only your dissertation research. We invite you to propose something that can really only be accomplished through this grant program and carried out over the summer, and that it's something that's mutually beneficial to you and your community partner. So there might be a way in which your dissertation project informs the research, which we hope it does, because we believe that as graduate students, you have very unique training and very unique skills, and those should be brought to the project, or maybe they provide the intellectual foundation of the project, but they aren't exactly the same thing as your dissertation research, if that makes sense. Always happy to answer specific questions about this too. In terms of what you actually submit in the proposal, you will send in a CV and a proposal narrative. And this is essentially the thing. This is the big thing that says what your project is, what's your interest in carrying out the project, your ability to carry it out, whether that it is intellectually grounded in the arts and humanities, and that it is mutually beneficial to your community partner. I will go more into the criteria, but that's a general sense of what the proposal should do. It's 3 pages max. So if you can accomplish this in under 3 pages, we absolutely welcome those proposals, but 3 pages max is the limit. The program has 2 tracks. So if you're thinking about submitting an application, you can submit an original project, which is of your own, totally from your own design, or you can choose one of the 4 pre-established projects that the DHI has secured with community partners. And you can also apply to both. So you might apply, you might already have an original project in mind, but if there's also a pre-established one that is calling to you, I really encourage you to submit 2 applications, one to each of those programs. The general time commitment we expect from students in this program over the summer is that you would work about 20 hours a week for 10 weeks. So this would be similar kind of commitment as you would to a TA-ship or a GSR over the quarter. You would have that same kind of commitment to the summer project. I'm going to go into some of our pre-established projects and share a little bit about them, but just wanted to say if you are interested in any of these, to please reach out to me rather than the host organizations directly, because I'm going to be the best person for you to talk to about the project concerns. And of course, if necessary, I'll connect you with someone at the organization. And there's my email if you need to write it down. So the first project that we're offering as a pre-established project through the program is with the California State Parks. And this is a continuation of a project that was started in 2020. It's titled Developing California Native American Walking Tours at Marshall Gold State Historic Park and Sutter's Fort State Historic Park. So this program is really operating out of the Tribal Affairs program in the California State Parks. And the contact that you would be working with is actually a former Mellon Public Scholar and a graduate student in Native American Studies. And the project stems from Governor Newsom's apology to California Native people for genocide. And part of the work with California State Parks is to revisit these state parks and develop new materials, new interpretive materials that share the kind of full story and the truth of the contribution of Indigenous peoples to these spaces. So you can read a little bit more closely about what that work would be, but this might be a project of interest to someone. The second project we're offering is also a continuation of a 2020 project, although it'll be unique to you as a scholar, is a participatory journalism project with CAP Radio. So CAP Radio is the NPR affiliate serving our region, and you would be working closely with the community engagement strategist there named Jessica Maria Ross, who has developed some principles of participatory journalism. And you would be working closely with her to kind of carry out this project. The actual topic you would know as it got closer to the date, but the idea is that whatever the topic is, it would be drawn from the kinds of concerns and issues that the community brings to this program. rather than reporting out on issues, you would actually be bringing together, so you'd be convening groups of people, you would be doing outreach, and you might be holding community listening sessions to help to develop the kinds of concerns that could then be passed on to reporters at Cap Radio to cover. And Jessica has also included some specific day-to-day activities that gives you a better sense of what the work might look like. Our third project is with the Center for Sacramento History. We have worked with them in the past, but this is a new project for 2021. It's called Racialized Policing in California's Gold Rush Era. So this project is coming out of a need that the Center for Sacramento History has to diversify their research collections and tell better stories about Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Asian people during California's Gold Rush period. And they are the supplier of the materials that go into the Sacramento History Museum, which is in Old Sacramento. So the scholar would be working with the Center for Sacramento History to look at digitized materials from this period, including Indian indentures, jail registers, and mug books, to try to piece together a research analysis of the disproportionate policing and criminalization for Black and Indigenous people as compared to white people during this period, and then eventually create a kind of exhibition design that could move into the Sacramento History Museum and draw parallels between those kinds of racialized policing practices in the Gold Rush era and our contemporary moment. The final project is a brand new one with a new partner, and this is working with the City of Davis Arts and Cultural Affairs Program to do some development around the Davis Centennial seal. So this is a big bronze 6-foot seal that will be installed in downtown Davis, and you would be working with the artist, Susan Shelton, as well as someone from the City of Davis Arts and Cultural Affairs Program to help develop a kind of curriculum or a digital engagement strategy so that people who come to look at the seal can know more about the stories that are depicted within it. So this might mean that you do some interviewing with the kind of people or representative images that appear in the seal. It might mean that you help to develop some curriculum that would be applicable to Davis school children who would visit the seal as a part of a field trip. And other kinds of activities, but it would be really centered on this kind of engagement with this public art piece. So those are the pre-established, and then of course, the majority of the applications we get every year are for original projects. And these are projects that come from your own research as students. I wanted to just give you a sampling here so that you can see, what does that even mean, to do this work? What would it look like? So here are some of the students as well as their departments and the titles of their programs. And I've tried to bold what is the activity, what is the thing that is happening in the course of the program. So you can see that some of these projects are about building alliances. They are community organizing projects. Some of them are digital archives, so it's about data collection and the kind of administration and showcasing or curating of data. There's the stories of AAPI women and girls, so these could be stories that you're collecting or a digital story project. There's a circus theater, so performance, we welcome performance projects as well. Community-based archival development, migration narratives, mapping tools, language curriculum development. So this is more just to give you a sense of what some of these project titles might look like. Another really helpful place you can look right now is we just finished the 2020 project showcase. So this is the final commitment that the 2020 scholars do. And normally this is a public event where they share back about their research, but because of the global pandemic, the students have made short videos of their work. So some are more like presentations, but others are like short films. So I really encourage you to go to this web address and to click through the different projects, and you can get a sense of what students were able to accomplish being really caught off guard by COVID-19 and having to change their projects over the course of the summer. They still did incredibly wonderful, beautiful work. And so I encourage you all to check those out. Before I go into criteria, I'm just gonna check the chat real quick for a question. So there was questions about applications and COVID. Should we address the potential problem of conducting research during COVID in our application? And yeah, so that's a good question. It's one I've gotten before. And what I think is gonna work best, well, first I'll say that the program is not asking you to provide, a COVID plan or an alternative research plan, which some major funders are asking for that, but we aren't right now. It's very hard to tell what the situation will be in the summer. For many students, they apply with a project in January, they go through the spring seminar, and their project changes anyway by the time they get to summer. That is just a core part of what happens in this program, is as you work with your community partner, as you start to kind of understand more of what the needs are and how you're going to do the work, the project does change from what you proposed. So in that vein, knowing that things will change and knowing that we can't know what the future will look like with regards to the pandemic, I would encourage you to submit the strongest proposal that you can. So really detail, actually we're on the right page, the criteria. Make sure you're meeting the criteria in the program. Make sure that it is a mutually beneficial project to your community partner, because if the project proposal is strong and you've thought out all the different components, you will already be better suited to deal with whatever the changing condition is come summer. So that's kind of how we're approaching that question. There's a good question too about the question of the public. What does that mean? The sample projects all engage a pretty local public. So I wanted to say that yes, the examples that I might have shown you are more local based, but every year we support international projects. We support projects all over the world, but we don't expect them to be local only projects. Also, I would say that in terms of a public, that could be, we're very expansive in what that looks like. So your community may be a group of individuals that you will be organizing to become more of a formal community, or it might be a international nonprofit organization, right? That's up to you to, in your proposal, tell us about who this community is and what it means to your project, but we leave that open for you. Real quick question, are international students eligible to apply? Yes, absolutely they are. International and undocumented students, we welcome your proposals. Okay, so I want to talk about the criteria. This is a really important page, and I want to point everyone to the Public Scholars website, where you can actually download the evaluation rubrics that our selection committee uses. So with any grant proposal, you want to make sure that you're using the language of the grant proposal in your narrative. Because if we're asking you to, for example, discuss the impact and value of the applicant's experience for the selected community partner, we want you to do that, address that in your narrative. And so you may even use that language to signal to the review committee that this is where you're addressing that criteria. So I've split the columns up into original and pre-established projects. And so I'll go over the pre-established criteria quickly. The second thing we ask is the applicant's potential to carry out or execute the community engaged work. So this could be expressed as a track record. So you might say, I can carry out this project because I've done similar things in the past and here they are. But again, we don't necessarily only want people who have a ton of experience in this program. So you might choose to express that potential to carry out the work as a desire. So you could say, I haven't done this work, but I've really thought about what it means. And here's why I think it's so important. And if given this opportunity, this is what it would mean to me and my community partner. Okay, so it doesn't have to be just that you've done it before. The third item there is the intellectual foundation of the project and its significance to the humanities, scholars or artists, general audiences, etc. So this is what I mean by making sure that you are discussing the impact on the arts and humanities in the project, and that you have some kind of an intellectual foundation to it. So you understand the context in which this project is arising. And that might be where your dissertation research comes in handy, because maybe it comes out of that kind of deep intellectual foundation that you've already done, or you've already started with the dissertation work. And finally, very important, one of our evaluation criteria is the potential to contribute to the university's commitment to diversity. So this is drawing actually from the UC Davis postdoc application. By diversity, we mean service, research, and perspective. So it could be service work around, geographic and ethnic diversity, demographic diversity. It could also be research that you've done, or it could be your own lived experience. So we invite that, and that is one of our evaluation criteria. I will add that for original projects, everything is the same, except for one very important one, which is the feasibility and the appropriateness of the proposed plan of work, including, when relevant, the soundness of dissemination and access plans. So for the pre-established projects, we've already done the work to make sure that the proposed project is feasible, and that you'll be working with someone who's able to kind of hold you accountable to that project. But for an original project, you need to articulate that you understand what can be done over a summer. And sometimes that means adding a timeline, even if it's very short, of when, so that you recognize what the different components of the project are, the order in which they need to be done, and roughly when they would be done. Again, it's a speculative project. Of anytime you write a grant proposal, who knows what the summer will look like, but you want to demonstrate that you have thought it through and that you're being very careful and just thoughtful in your approach to the proposal. All right, so nearing the end of my presentation before we get to questions. I wanted to just share some common questions. So as I'm sharing these, if you have questions that have been coming up, feel free to pop those into the chat, and then I will, go back and look at it as we continue. But these are some of the common questions I get, and I've already gotten one. So yes, we definitely welcome international projects and international students to the program. Can I use this award to fund my dissertation fieldwork? So this is I put maybe for this because the project you propose can be related to your dissertation, and it should be, to really strengthen that intellectual foundation, but it needs to offer something that is discrete or additional to that core dissertation work that can be accomplished over the summer. So this award is not meant to just fund your dissertation research. There are other opportunities for you to seek out that funding on campus. We really wanted this to be a space for students to do community engaged research, because there isn't a funding mechanism for that kind of work on campus. Do I need to have already worked with this community partner? No. So we welcome new partnerships or existing ones. I have a little bit of advice if you're someone who's reaching out to a new community partner. I would first start with the fact that you are interested in working with them because you're applying to this grant program, if that's the case, of course, so that they understand the nature of your request, and that might also help them understand that it is about exploring a relationship together and not that you already have the grant to carry out the project. So just be straight with people up front. And then I would, if it's a new partnership, start by asking about what their needs are. What are their needs and desires around their organization? What do they see as their most pressing concerns? What would they just love to have the help with from a very smart and capable graduate researcher? So you definitely start by asking about what their questions and concerns are, and then explain what you have to offer. So if you got the grant, you would have your time to offer. You would have $400 in a supplemental project fund to offer. And you might share specifically what your training and your skills are. And then you kind of find that sweet spot where their needs and your skills come together to craft a really wonderful project. Number 4, I'm a social scientist who uses quantitative methods. Can I apply? So again, this project needs to center arts and humanities queries and methods. But if you are someone who has always worked with data and you would love to find a way to turn that into a performance, that's a perfect project for this program. Or if you want to create some kind of an artistic visualization of the numbers you've been working with in collaboration with a community partner, that's great. or if you are working with a community partner who needs you to do some kind of data analysis as part of your work together, that would totally be appropriate. So it's not a hard no, and we really invite you to get creative when you think about how to submit a proposal to this program. What if I've never done this kind of work before? You know, apply. We really want to create a final cohort that where there can be some learning between members of the program. Like I think I've already said it many times, we don't want everyone to already be an expert. There's a lot of opportunity to learn. Do you provide financial support for community partners? So no, not directly. The way that the program is designed is to support grad students in their work, because there really is not a space for that on campus to support explicitly community engaged research by graduate students. But that, like I've said, that money comes to you, and it's up to you how you would like to spend that with your community partner. But the program does offer that $400 in supplemental project funds that can be used to support your community partner. Do I have to take the spring seminar? Yes, you do. I know for people who are already taking a lot of seminars, or maybe who haven't taken a seminar in 2 years, it might not sound very exciting, but I can definitely tell you that the seminar is by and large one of the most transformative parts of this program. It is an incredible opportunity to get to know, very closely get to know students from other programs who are doing different kinds of work, but you really get to share and bond around this commitment that you all have to community research. The seminar is co-taught by myself and by a faculty person on campus. We change out who that is, but it's always someone who has deep experience doing this kind of work. And I just find that students get a lot out of it. It's a really incredible experience. And every project, we do workshopping of projects in the seminar as well. We do a theoretical exploration of the questions in community engaged research, but then we also address the specific methods and the specific concerns that come out of your projects. And it's just a really unique space to get some specialized attention to your work as well. And all students change their projects somewhat as a result of the seminar. So yes, you have to take it, but it's pretty awesome. Okay, so coming to the end here, how can I help, or how I can help? First of all, I can meet and talk with you about your ideas. So I encourage you to send me an email, and we can have a 30-minute meeting where you just tell me, here's my idea, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Do you have an idea for a partner? Or do you have an idea for a faculty person? And we can do some brainstorming together. The other thing I can do is I can read your drafts. So if you have a proposal draft that you would like me to look at, I am happy to do it. I'll read it, and I will use the rubric to kind of show you where you can modify your proposal to better meet the expectations of the faculty review committee. Lastly, another important way I can help is I could connect you to other Mellon Public Scholars, or I could connect you to other faculty who have worked with Mellon Public Scholars, so that maybe you have a specific question about a project or approaching a community partner, and you're of course welcome to reach out to any of those folks on your own, but I just want to offer myself as a liaison, if you prefer, to those different constituencies. And again, you can go to the Public Scholars website, definitely go there, because there's the full call for proposals there. It's kind of 3 pages long. It's all there. There's the evaluation rubrics, which you'll want to look at. There are the videos from the 2020 scholars, if you want to look more closely at the work that they've done. And there's also an archive of every scholar and the projects that they've done and the faculty mentors that they've worked with since the program began in 2016. So the website is a really good resource for you to learn more about the program, as well as me. I don't see too many other questions, but feel free to add them in now. I'm actually going to stop the recording of the session, but I will stick around for any specific questions that you have.
Yeah, I have a question.